magandang gabi. I'm your Tito Goby, and tonight we're gonna react to the background NPCs video. Why do they keep blaming us for their mistakes? All right, let's get to it. All right.
Once upon a time, a couple of weeks ago, I was scrolling my feed when I saw hot Snow White just absolutely slicing through enemies with a battle axe. And the post screamed at me in all caps, "This game is for you. You are the target audience." I said, "Me?" They were right, of course, but in the moment, I almost missed the real fairy tale, a studio in the Grand 2-6 using the phrase target audience. When prompted, very sincerely, and I thought that phrase had perished, a relic of a forgotten age, something passed down only in legends by elder gamers around a campfire. But no, there it was, and it gave me a lot of hope. Unfortunately, though, this is not that kind of story, because not long after that, High Guard news graced my screen, and I learned that almost the entire team had been let go, and one of the devs had an answer for why. To absolutely no one's surprise, he said it was the gamer's fault. So,
The gamers' fault. Why we didn't like the game? Nobody would like the game. How could we? How could it be our fault? Nobody liked it. Oh man. Um, People who did review it say it's too boring, too bland. Not exciting enough, I guess. I don't know. How can it be our fault?
one studio looks at players and said, "We made this for you." The other says, "You did this to us." And that tension, who you are making games for, whether or not you actually respect them, and whether you're willing to own it when things go wrong, is pretty much everything that we are covering as we look at some of the most recent gaming news of the past 2 weeks. Okay, in case you are not chronically online like me, which, good for you, I am trying to be better about it, let me catch you up really quickly. Free games launched last week: Eugenics, a cat tactics game that has already sold 1 million copies, Relooted, which had journalists buzzing, peaked at a whopping 57 players, and Killerin, a new live service Square Enix game that seemingly no one had ever heard of, peaked at just under 900 players. Square Enix, if you are somehow watching this, your secret is safe with me. 1,200 Ubisoft employees recently went on a 3-day strike, massive layoffs, continued internal chaos, but don't worry guys, they have reassured us yet again that Assassin's Creed Shadows is still performing better than expected. 1348 Xvoto released their demo, and the lead voice actress describes the experience as something everyone would love. Overwatch.
These are very poor numbers. 102 players. Peak. All time, 102. The other ones again. I guess.
Which, good for you, I am trying to be better about it. Let me catch you up really quickly. Free games launched last week: Eugenics, a cat tactics game that has already sold 1 million copies, Relooted, which had journalists buzzing, peaked at a whopping
Relooted. I have never heard of this game. I don't. They're trying to copy Laura Croft, I guess.
57 players.
57. There you go. At peak, or all time, 57 players.
And Killerin, a new live service Square Enix game that seemingly no one had ever heard of, peaked at just under 900 players.
There you go. All time, 817. And I never heard about this game either. So it's either marketing is not doing their stuff, or these games are just that bad. Okay, where did we left off? Oh well, let's just continue.
Square Enix, if you are somehow watching this, your secret is safe with me. 1,200 Ubisoft employees recently went on a 3-day strike, massive layoffs, continued internal chaos, but don't worry, guys, they have reassured us yet again that Assassin's Creed Shadows is still performing better than expected. 1348 Xvoto released their demo, and the lead voice actress describes the experience as something everyone would love. Overwatch had a whole situation involving a new character's face, a voice actress, and the phrase Ozempic chic. We'll be getting to that later. Ashes of Creation, potentially 140 million in fraud, and a founder whose professional background is multi-level marketing. So yeah, that tracks, honestly. And somehow, like I said at the start of the video, Highguard has gotten worse, much worse. So let's start there. Highguard, man, we knew things were bad a couple of weeks ago.
And this is the one that won the award. Was it Highguard the best game? Let's check it out. Highguard award, right? Game Awards. There you go. Features as close-up. Oh, it premiered. Okay. Well, Apex. Okay. Did it get an award? Showcase stage, developing background, runs, game concept, blah blah blah. Aftermath. Fuck that. We'd be foolish to turn down the game. There we go. Polygon. Highguard. Sorry. Highguard Shadow Drops plans were upended by the Game Awards, says CEO. The Game Awards is sorry. An award show, sorry. So the 2025 shows Capstone Highguard, a new free-to-play raid shooter from studios founded by Titanfall and Apex Legends veterans. It's revealed the 2020 Game Awards. Okay, I guess it didn't win any awards, but I thought it did win awards, but my bad. Sorry about that.
But it has kept getting worse. 16 days after launch, most of the team was laid off. The studio said that they are keeping a core group to support the game, but now the website has kind of gone down, so support group is probably more accurate at this point. And then came the now deleted response from one of the laid off devs, and I genuinely wanted to hear it. What was the cause of all of this? What happened? Why no early access? Was it the generic art style and forgettable characters? The overhype from the Game Awards and Jeff Keighley?
Overhyped.
Maybe some honest reflection? Nope. He posted a full thread essentially blaming gamers. He said consumers put absurd amounts of effort into slandering Highguard, and it worked. He also said innovation is on life support, which is a lot of words for it wasn't us. And remember, this is coming from a free-to-play hero shooter. He also included feedback from other industry people praising the game as proof that it was actually good, which is basically the equivalent of bombing your final exam in school and then showing your professor screenshots of your group chat saying, "You're gonna crush it, bro," as evidence that you deserved an A. And when you stop to think about it, it is kind of crazy. Almost 100,000 people showed up and gave this game a shot, which is a massive deal that some indie devs could only dream of. But then losing 95% of them so quickly and telling me that you have no idea how that happened, I am sorry. Somebody in that building had to know. You are telling me nobody sent an anonymous email to leadership titled "Just a Thought" with a link to Concord's peak player count because they either weren't allowed to say.
So pretty much Concord is the benchmark for all these new games. All-time high 697. And there's still somebody playing it? I thought the servers went down. Oh
Say
man.
it, or they had already seen what happened.
And this game is for the modern audience. What is the modern audience? There's no such thing as a modern audience.
Happens to people who do. Now, the dev also described the laid off team as passionate indie devs who were being forced back into corporate, which sounds really devastating until you find out that the undisclosed lead financial backer for this whole passionate indie project was Tencent. Yes, that Tencent. And here is where it gets even more interesting because Tencent's senior vice president also sits on the advisory board of the Game Awards, the same Game Awards that gave Highguard the coveted final slot of the night, for free, mind you, while reportedly charging other studios up to $1 million for.
Of course, because it's their baby. They want to advertise it. So everybody else who wants to advertise has to pay. And since it's his show, he gets to do it for free.
for their spots. The same Jeff Keighley who was hyping this game up for days before launch like it was going to change everything. Now, I am not trying to jump to conclusions here. I am just saying that's a lot of coincidences sitting around in the same room together. A free-to-play live service hero shooter chasing a trend that has already buried how many studios at this point, and it gets the most coveted spotlight in gaming. And
you know what? If they made the game kind of like a raid, I guess, 10 versus 10 or 16 versus 16, that massive, he could have had a shot. But instead, it's 3 versus 3 on a very large map. Yeah.
where exactly was the passionate indie vision? The battle pass? I don't know. But what really gets me is that before launch, studio head Chad Greener told Polygon, whether it gets 1,000 people or 100 million people, it doesn't matter. And then, unfortunately, 16 days after launch, most of the team was laid off. It looks like it kind of mattered, Chad. But the dev that posted that initial thread blaming gamers just lost his job. He lived through this echo chamber of toxic positivity, the poor leadership, the nobody in the building able to speak up culture that we talked about in my last video. He is the person that all of these bad decisions rolled downhill onto. And after all of that, his takeaway was still the gamers. He went through this whole thing and somehow came out on the other side, seemingly having learned nothing. And that is, unfortunately, extremely Concord of him. But if we look at Overwatch and what they have been up to, you might be able to see a glimmer of hope for the future. Until they completely squashed it by bending the knee to the latest public outrage. Think Jon Snow and Daenerys if Daenerys were the undying Twitter mob that simply cannot let us have attractive female characters. Real quick before that, a quick break for today's sponsor. My personal finances used to stress me out a lot. I was never a math girl, and that feeling of, I don't want to know, but I kind of need to know, that was me. I was super disorganized. I would try keeping a written budget, but then just not look at it. But having something that just tracks everything for you automatically makes a huge difference. And that is basically what Rocket Money does. The app links to your bank accounts, credit cards, everything, so you can see exactly where your money is going without doing all of that work yourself. It just makes it so much easier to track your goals, see what you owe, plan for savings, all in one singular place without having to log into 5 different things. And it finds subscriptions you forgot about and lets you cancel them right in the app itself. No phone calls or digging through old emails, just a few taps. Thanks to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video. If you would like to check it out, head to rocketmoney.com/NPC, links in the description. You can start using it for free and unlock more features with premium. So speaking of accountability, or lack of it, Blizzard actually did something shocking recently. They took it. They admitted Overwatch 2 wasn't working how they intended, did a full rebrand, a massive content push, and it worked. Numbers went up, people were genuinely excited, myself included. I almost re-downloaded the game, but then I came to my senses just in time. Part of all of this, though, was introducing a new hero for this season, Onrun. She looks great in the cinematic, looks good in game, but people noticed that she didn't quite match the original version that Blizzard had showed off. was fair enough. The, hey, can we get her a little closer to her original design request started popping up, and I didn't really think too much of it at the time, but then Onran's voice actress posted a video calling this a hill worth dying on, and she used the phrase Ozempic chic. That is when it became pretty clear what was actually happening, because
No, it's they're just pushing their, I guess, agenda again. It's like we play games to escape reality, but I guess woke people want to add some reality into our games. Kind of, it's like I don't know what's wrong with these people, but can you just leave these IPs alone? I know you're a voice actress for Overwatch, but you, just, you can't just leave the design to the designers. I'm sorry, but oh well. Everybody has their own opinions, but she has a bigger soapbox than I do, so oh well.
what started as a reasonable, hey, can we get her a little closer to the original from actual players, got hijacked almost immediately by a completely different crowd with a completely different opinion.
There you go.
One that wasn't about accuracy at all, but about making her less attractive. And the voice actress essentially confirmed it herself when someone in her comments told her to push the agenda with the character, and she replied, I shall. And then I started seeing other complaints pop up. The face is wrong, the message is wrong, the outfit's too tight, she needs to be covered up more. And then suddenly, the people who just wanted closer to the original design are now sharing a hashtag with people who never wanted her to look good in the first place. I do just want to pause on the original design point for a second because that is so funny to me. These are the same types of people who told us we were being weird when we noticed Mary Jane in Spider-Man 2, who said, why do you care? It's just a game, relax. When people pointed out Aloy in the Second Horizon, who told us to stop objectifying women every time someone mentioned the female character changes in the Capcom remakes.
These companies, these game companies, should stop listening to these people because they don't buy these games. They don't play these games. They just want to ruin it for everybody else.
But the point is, we were the problem for noticing. And then at the same time, Leon Kennedy gets the full glow-up treatment. Female devs at Capcom are lovingly worshipping his neck wrinkles, and he is actually getting full-on thirst trap videos from official Capcom accounts. And the response has been universally positive, which is good. But the rule is apparently original designs matter unless the original was too pretty. Blizzard, you just got back on track by actually listening to your player base. Do not immediately reverse that by surrendering to the mob. Now, if Overwatch was accountability getting hijacked mid-comeback, Ashes of Creation is what happens when all of this is completely thrown out the window and respecting your players was never even part of the plan. I have been going down this whole rabbit hole for the last few weeks on this, and it goes incredibly deep, like multiple levels of fraud, embezzlement, and manipulation deep, allegedly. And I am not really an MMO person either. I did some Elder Scrolls Online a couple years back and a little RuneScape back in my church youth group era. But Ashes was supposedly the next big MMO. It was kickstarted back in 2017, raised 3.2 million, had nearly a decade of development, and the community was completely ride or die for this. It hit Steam Early Access in December of 2025, so just a couple months ago, and 52 days later, the entire studio is gone. Now, from what I have learned in my research, on the surface, this normally wouldn't be anything too crazy. MMO Kickstarters are kind of cursed, actually, so many of them have had issues over the years, and it's pretty rough. But for Ashes of Creation, if you start digging deeper and pulling at some of the threads, the whole thing just unravels very quickly. Starting with the founder, Stephen Sheriff, who had zero game development experience before this. His background was multi-level marketing. MLM to MMO, yeah. So for years, he publicly claimed that he had personally invested millions of his own money because he believed in this project so much, which naturally inspired the community to open up their wallets too. But now an investor has come forward claiming Steven never put in a single dollar. The real money was roughly $140 million from outside investors, and there was supposed to be a board overseeing all of this, holding meetings, keeping everyone accountable, but apparently, they never even held a single meeting, which makes complete sense once you learn that the board was essentially just Stephen, overseeing himself, reporting to himself, presumably giving himself glowing performance reviews and a very reasonable bonus. It is giving I am the Senate. It just completely baffles me. How was he getting away with this for so long? Was anyone seriously looking into it? Why was everybody just taking him at his word? We also know that players spent tens of millions on cosmetics for a world that wasn't even finished yet. And I don't want to pile on people who lost money here, but buying an outfit for a game that does not fully exist yet is a level of trust and optimism that I can only dream of having about anything in my own life. And when it all came crashing down last month, Steven decided to resign in protest. He blamed the board, which again is basically just him, for unethical decisions. And since the game technically launched for 52 whole days in early access, Kickstarter refunds are now kind of unclear, but I don't know how he's gonna get away with this. Because here's what 9 years got us. $3.2 million from Kickstarter backers, tens of millions spent by players on cosmetics, $140 million allegedly raised and unaccounted for, and 123 people who showed up every day and built this thing, losing their jobs in a single afternoon. And that doesn't even get into all of the asset moving Steven allegedly did at the end of last year, which really makes it seem like he was trying to cover every exit. It is pretty diabolical and almost impressive in a super gross way. It's clear that the real priority here was never the game. It was never the community that funded it. And everyone who gave money to this deserved so much better than a founder who was essentially running an MLM with a fantasy skin on top. So after all of that, high guard pointing fingers at the 100,000 people who actually showed up, Overwatch's comeback nearly getting kneecapped before it could find its footing, Ashes being whatever Ashes was, we do keep coming back to one thing: accountability. Because look at what happens when you take it. Sean Murray could have posted a thread after the whole No Man's Sky debacle, blamed toxic gamers, and made it everyone else's problem. Instead, he just went quiet and started fixing it. And now we are at free updates for 10 years.
And No Man's Sky, I actually played this game. It looks damn good. You can play it on PC or on VR. I've been trying to play on VR, and I'm completely into it. I would like spend hours in this game, just being lost and just like just digging up stuff, exploring the worlds. It's that good now.
And the game is beloved. Pilatro, one guy in the Discord every single day taking notes
Pilatro.
because he said the players knew more about how to play the game properly than he did. 5 million copies sold. Satisfactory spent 5 years in early access listening. Their community manager said it best: sometimes it is good to just listen to what people are asking for and give them that. Eugenics made a cat game for a decade and sold 1 million copies in a week. And Knight's Path, the upcoming medieval game, is now at 300,000 wishlists. All of these examples have looked at their audience and said, we see you, we are making this for you. Here it is. None of these developers had the biggest budgets. None of them had the loudest marketing. As far as I know, they didn't have fancy consultants telling them what modern players want, and they've not been using their
Yeah, pretty much the triple A industry right now, the triple A people, they're mostly grifters. So they're just out there to get your money. Imagine how much is a game now? It costs almost like $100. What, 60 or is it 65 or $55? Let's see. Uh, Cost of video game. Cost of video game today. Oh my God. It's up to $70 to $80 now per game. A new video game in 2026 are transitioning to a standard price of 70 to $80 for major titles on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, up from the long-standing $60 mark. Dude, man. Uh, 80s and 90s. Let's see how much the games were in the 80s and 90s because they were making so many games back then. 80s and 90s. There you go. Between $30 to 70 USD. $3. Video games in the 80s and 90s typically cost between $30 and $70 USD, with many premium titles or cartridges games often reaching higher prices due to manufacturing costs and limited distribution. I hardly see any of these $70 game. Well, back then, 80s and 90s, I didn't really see the $70 ones. Those were probably like collectibles or something like that. I don't know why it would go up to that, but that was like the highest back then. And then yeah, pretty much 30 to $40. 30 uh 50 was already like pushing it. $70. It has to be like one of those limited edition copies or whatever. But yeah, fuck. 70 to $80 on average nowadays. Oh god, that is so expensive.
Their games as a funnel to smuggle in their own personal ideologies. They were just making
What was
something
that?
good for the consultants, telling them what modern players want, and they've not been using their games as a funnel to smuggle in their own personal
There you go. Modern games for the modern audience. How's that working out?
ideologies. They were just making something good for the group of people who would love it, and holding themselves accountable to make sure that is the case. So, like I have said to the industry so many times, we are tired of being blamed for your mistakes, but we are so ready to be back in your corner. We will support the games and devs who care about their work and care about their players. We will defend their games in comment sections like we are on their salary, but you do have to meet us halfway. Take the notes, hear the feedback, and when something does go wrong, just be honest about it. Because the truth is,
First of all, who are you making these games for? Who is your target market? Who are your target audience? That's pretty simple, right? It's like, who are you making these games for? Are you making it for guys? Are you making it for girls? Are you making it for the other, I guess, sex? um, I don't know.
is some games can survive a bad launch, but none of them can survive making enemies of their own players. I started this video with a fairy tale, and it turns out that the studios that treat their players like the villain do not get a happy ending. But if they do treat us like the hero, they might just stand the test of time. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for being here. What studio do you wish would just take the notes? Let me know.
All of them. All of them. All right. That was Why Do They Keep Blaming Us for Their Mistakes by the background NPC. Check her channel out. She does some good videos like this. And I guess that's it for tonight. Good night.